All right, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whatever time it is, when you hear this message, I pray that you're poised to receive, to accept, and to respond to what will bring you wisdom, what will optimize your natural gifts and talents, and what will enable you to make a more meaningful contribution to your life and the lives of the people who you are destined to serve. Ashe. In our most recent Itadokun, the Odu revealed the significance of the principle of magnetism. And by magnetism, I mean that invisible force that draws you near to something. There's something that has a magnetic pull on you, right? And in one regard, we could think about it as the things that also that you draw to yourself, right? You may have a magnetic personality, as people will say. And so you draw people to you. You attract people to you, or you attract things to you. But by the same token, and of equal importance, you need to know what you are magnetized to, what draws you near to it. So in other words, if you reflect upon your life, you will probably discover or recognize an ongoing how would you call it? In Spanish would be acercamiento, a nearing, right? You'll find yourself being pulled into close proximity to something, right? And you'll see that it was present last year, it was present 5 years ago, it was present when you were in different kinds of work environments. This something has been drawing you closer to it when you were not working at all, when you lived in one place or you lived in another. You had this attraction for something, and it's been persistent year after year, perhaps decade after decade. That is the kind of magnetism that I want to bring to your attention at this particular moment. It's important that we recognize those things that draw us near, because they reveal to us some of the fundamental or essential necessities of our lives, that make our lives complete and make our lives meaningful. They're things that even when they're scarce, right? Even that when they're not readily available all the time, we know that it's important to us. It's essential to us. So it's important. It's not just important, it's necessary for you to recognize that and then organize yourself accordingly, so that you're not putting yourself into positions wherein you're taking out the key elements in your environment that make you thrive in your environment. So when you think about high performance, okay, so let me back up a little bit, because I'm assuming that you're also orientating yourself toward high performance. You want to be putting yourself in a position where you could do your best work. You want to put yourself in a position where you can show up most fully, and you can provide the highest level of yourself to the people who matter most, right? We're not talking about those places where it's like, good enough is good enough. No, I'm talking about where you really want to thrive, where you really want to shine, where you really want to put your best foot forward, right? Where you want the outcomes to be consistently high quality. In those environments, you want to make sure that you are stacking the deck in your favor. You want to make sure that you're creating an environment that is going to enable you to have easy access to the things that make you successful. Okay? And So with that in mind, I'm telling you what I'm telling you about magnetism. You're you're gonna look and you're gonna find, for example, for some people, it will be um, physical activity. For some people, they are drawn. You are drawn to some kind of physical activity. It's not for vanity that you work out or that you walk or that you swim or whatever. It's not a question of just being fit. It's not that you're health conscious. It's not about that. That's an essential element to your environment. You've got to have that in place in order for you to get, the best version of yourself. For other people, it might be a spiritual discipline. You look and you say, hey, I need to be in a place where I am explicitly and deliberately and regularly and formally practicing devotion, where I am in a worship state of mind doing activities associated with worship. That's essential for me. If I am not in a place of regular ongoing worship, things are going to start coming apart for me. I cannot be at my highest level if I'm not incorporating worship and devotion into my regular routine. Okay? So you can look at it in a bit like, an analogy would be, or let's say a metaphor. A metaphor would be an oasis in the desert, right? So for some people, worship is an oasis in the desert. For some people, physical activity, exercise and working out, stuff like that, is an oasis in the desert, right? These are the kinds of things that I'm talking about. In the same way that an oasis in the desert draws life to it, there are other activities that you're involved in that draw you to them in order to quench your thirst. And it's not a negotiable thing. It's not like you can do without water. You cannot do without this activity. It's essential that you identify those things. It's not just going to be water. I'm just using that as a metaphor. There's going to be several activities that you've got to be involved in order to be whole, in order to be at your highest level of performance. Okay? And the more clear you are about those things, the more easily you can position yourself to integrate those activities into your day-to-day activity. Those become a part of your lifestyle. Those become the elements in the system that make your life optimal. Okay, that give you the greatest degree of access to your own personal, spiritual, ancestral, cultural power. Okay? And so I want you to meditate on those things and acknowledge those areas of activity, and thereby start to do what you need to do to guarantee that you're involved in those kinds of activities. And one way you can do that is to reflect on the times wherein you have been deepest in your practice, right? When what was happening in your life? How did you historically set things up in such a way that you could get you could be working out as much as you need to work out, or you could be worshiping as much as you need to, or you could be painting or drawing or playing music or writing or whatever it is that you do that represents your oasis. How did you arrange your life once upon a time in such a way that enabled you to ensure and guarantee that you are involved in that activity? That's going to help you to start, creating sort of a centerpiece scheduling. Centerpiece scheduling in the sense that, maybe in interior decoration and design, or even when people get dressed, they have you have a centerpiece, right? You might start with the red vase. This red vase goes here, or this portrait of, your family goes at the center here, and then you build around it, or you got these couches that go here. That's your centerpiece, and then you build around it. Well, this oasis activity is your centerpiece. You put that at the center of your life. You make sure that at this time is the optimal time for you to be involved. I'm going to do this. So what do I need to do before and after to make sure that that happens without fail? And then you start to organize the rest of your day around making sure that the centerpiece activity is getting optimal time, exposure, resources, etc. Because that is one of the things that's going to drive your high performance. Okay? So that's the goal of the conversation that I'm having with you right now. Once you've identified what it is that you really have to be involved with, the relationships that you absolutely have to cultivate, right? There's sometimes it's people that you've got to be in close proximity to. You got to be engaging and exchanging with certain people in order to, right? That's your oasis. In order to be refreshed, to be energized, to be revived and reinvigorated, you got to be engaging with these people. How do you structure yourself in such a way that you can, guarantee that that happens? That is the desired outcome. Okay, that is the desired outcome. This is something that if you don't do it, you also will know this. When you reflect upon those times where you were unable to, or you just simply failed to, or you chose not to be engaged with the activities that feed you and revive you and restore you, when you for whatever reason did something different, you know what the aftermath was. You know how things all slid downhill. You know how everything went off the rails. You know how everything fell apart. You know how it just was like a train wreck after train wreck after train wreck because you were not involved with those key pivotal activities. You remember maybe the days, the months, the years, the money, the anguish, the confusion, the anger, all of those things that just, in a way, they kind of seem like they were squandered. It seems like such a waste of energy when you look back. It looks like such a waste of time, such a waste of money when you look back on that time when you weren't involved in that key activity. So when you have that background, right, that's your experience creates values. And those experiences also, where you look and you say to yourself, I went off the track. I went against the grain that day or that month or that year. That series of decisions put me way off track, put me in a whole different environment, doing things I didn't really want to be doing, being with people, engaging in activities that really just were drudgery for me, was killing me every day. That is what becomes the value. Because of that experience, you can say with total certainty, nope, I don't do that, because it will create this effect in my life. I'm going to absolutely positively organize my life so that I get to do that, because I need that. That's my oasis in the desert. If I don't do that, man, I perish. And if I don't perish, I am eking out an existence that is just so difficult. It's just so crunchy. It's not an ideal way to live life. Right? And those tend to be really valuable lessons because we don't forget them. When you spend a few years, wandering the desert, so to speak, that oasis becomes much, 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 much more valuable to you. All right? So for everybody who's already been there and done that, I'm talking to you. And for the people who haven't been there and done that, hey, take my word for it. Some lessons are better learned through books. You don't have to take every path. You don't have to take every path. This is an instance wherein it's in your very best interest to be proactive and be diligent and be really focused upon making sure you set the stage for optimal performance by identifying those areas of activity that are going to really feed your spirit, those areas of activity that are going to really reinvigorate you and revive you and give you the replenishment that you need to be strong and be at optimal performance. And so, as always, this is a message for the leaders. I'm talking to the people who want more than anything else to change the world through positive influence. If you're one of those people, I want you to find out how Obafemi Origuwa and the Odisha Lifestyle Academy can help you take your practice and your life to the next level. I look forward to working with you. Visit me at obafemio.com or odishalifestyle.com, and let's start living the medicine that will heal your life and heal the lives of those who you're destined to serve. Bye for now. Odabo.